Hey guys, it's Jolene. Before we get started, did you know I do group coaching every month that we take on 2 powerful habits each week that become the cornerstone of your health journey, and it works with every eating style? Well, head on over to holistichealthmadesimple.com/abundant-health to learn more. Everybody's asked over and over again, what is the best diet? So today I am going to tell you the absolute best diet that every single person on planet Earth should be following. Listen in. If you are ready to break free from the scale, feel your best, and reclaim your health, you're in the right place. Welcome to Holistic Health Made Simple, where ancestral wisdom and science collide. I'm Jolene, your nutritional therapy practitioner and BFF on this wild ride. Let's explore the transformative power of a holistic mindset, the untapped potential of your gut health, the mysteries of metabolism, and the pillars of lifelong wellness. Say bye-bye to the frustration of yo-yo dieting and the allure of quick fixes and the maze of contradictory advice. Are you ready to step into this new chapter of your life and become your healthiest, most amazing self? Grab some water, pop in those headphones, and let's get started. Hey there! So today, I am excited to finally put to bed what the best diet is for every human being on the planet. But before I tell you that, let's take a look at every trendy diet there is right now. Now, there's a lot more than what I'm going to cover. Don't come at me, and if you want me to go over another one down the road, maybe on Instagram or in my newsletter, reach out, leave me a comment or a speak pipe, and I will do that for you. But let's just start with the basics that are out there now and being pushed on us in every single direction. First up, let's talk plant-based. Vegan and vegetarian. Now, there actually is, and it was explained to me, vegan, vegetarian, and plant-based. They kind of do mean separate things, although I don't think the general pop understands that. So, plant-based is eating mostly plants, but also plant-based products. Whether you're vegan, omnivorous, or vegetarian, you're eating all the products that are labeled plant-based. Like your plant-based butter, which, I hate to break it to you, is basically margarine that you cut out your diet before. So let's just not go there. So plant-based is incorporating products that are ultra-processed. So plant-based will stick to incorporates ultra-processed, fake meats, plant-based products that don't occur naturally. And when we talk about ultra-processed, we are talking about things that you would not be able to concoct in your own kitchen. They require a lab, basically. Okay? Whether you agree with me on eliminating ultra-processed foods or not, that's not what we're talking about today, but that's where plant-based lies. And then we have vegetarians. Vegetarians, like especially old school vegetarians, are people who eat some dairy. Sometimes they incorporate eggs. That would be their only animal products. And then the rest is all coming from plant material. But whole foods plants. They eat vegetables, nuts, seeds. One of the most things that you would, or the most processed things you would see them eating is tofu. But tofu is not really processed. It's mashed beans that's fermented. So we've got to take a look at the bigger picture there, that they're eating predominantly whole foods in the form of vegetables, nuts, seeds, a little dairy, a little eggs, depending on their scope of vegetarianism. And then we got the vegans. The vegans, old school vegans, eat plants, nuts, and seeds. They're not eating the plant-based alternative meat sources. They're not eating alternative dairy. They're not eating alternative spreads. They are sticking to things that they concoct out of whole foods. Hummus, bean pastes, tofu. Those are all things, like we could make tofu ourselves in our own kitchen with proper instructions. So they're eating whole foods, all coming from plant matter. That is a true vegan, old school style. So plant-based eating vegans, vegetarians. There's also the fruitarians. There's also those that are raw vegan. There's a lot of different splinters out, just like any other diet. The biggest concern from those who aren't in those groups is the difficulty of getting in enough proteins and the full amino acid profiles unless you truly know what you're doing to balance out the nuts and seeds and different plant matter so that you're getting enough and getting the variety of amino acids we need, and the lack of B12. Those are the two biggest talking points from the anti-plant-based, vegan, vegetarian, whatever you want to call it. However, those that are in the vegan, vegetarian world have their own arguments. Science is never settled. They also don't think that we need as much protein as we think we need from a non-vegan perspective. And I know I included myself, so you're probably already making guesses of what I think the best diet is, but we'll get there. We're not there yet. So just take everything and understand that the vegans and vegetarians that are thriving are eating whole foods. They're also become very knowledgeable about what they're eating so they combine things properly so that they do get the nutrients in. The B12 thing, I've heard it from way too many vegans that have struggled later on in life. It doesn't happen right away, but they start having some neurodegenerative issues down the road. But I don't know how predominant that is in the vegan community. I have not studied it, but that is the cons to that is brought up in the arguments. Next, we're going to talk about Mediterranean diet, which is a diet that was written by an American, and they called it the Mediterranean diet. And it is a true diet in the sense of it's got rules, it's got regulations, and it may not exactly represent what people in the Mediterranean actually eat. It represents a portion of what they eat. But it is full of healthy olive oil, fish, and produce. Again, it's mostly whole foods. There is some breads and pastas in there, but very little. So take that with a grain of salt either, but that is also eating a variety of things. And for some people, they will thrive on it. And other people, they may not, depending on their health. Their argument is you don't need what they say you need other things. There's always going to be an argument for or against a diet. And then there's the DASH diet, which I'm going to tell you I don't know much about, but it seems ultra restrictive and kind of weird. So I'm not even going to get into that, but it's got a lot of rules. And if you're into the DASH diet and you could reach out to me, I would appreciate it because I can't even understand it. Or maybe it just didn't pique my interest enough to learn. Then we got the you can eat everything in moderation, or what I like to call the Weight Watchers crowd, because that's basically what Weight Watchers is. Eat everything in moderation and within your calories and points. Again, there's some pros to that because you can eat normally and go out and socialize. And there's some cons that you might be eating foods that aren't healthy for you or that make you sick or that cause your disease that you have to get worse. Pros and cons to that too. Eat everything in moderation doesn't work for those that have binge eating disorders. There is a lot of issues, pros and cons, with almost every diet so far that I've talked to. But this one, because it doesn't restrict you to whole foods, people like it because they can eat their cake or have their cake and eat it too. But for a diabetic, that's probably not the best thing. You know, there's pros and cons to everything. Next we'll touch on is the paleo diet. The paleo diet originally was a whole foods approach to ancestral eating, which basically meant that you were eating like they thought your ancestors would. So you were eating all your vegetables, your fruits, but you weren't eating grains and no dairy. Don't ask me where the dairy went from. I did a paleo version where I still incorporated dairy because I struggle giving up dairy, but that's my personal problem, not yours. But paleo really was a way of eating clean. There wasn't all the packaged and processed foods when it was at its height. So it was very successful because people were getting back to eating whole natural foods. From paleo, we'll go into the keto diet, which a lot of people think is trendy, but it has been around for years and years and years. I've talked about it before. There's lots of ways to keto. One is a whole foods approach, and one is if it fits my macros, I eat it, processed or not. Now again, a lot of these diets, when they first started out and were at their height of success, didn't have the packaged processed foods that are out there now. So people were eating vegetables, meat, and healthy fats. In the case of paleo, they were adding in potatoes and some sweeteners, but natural sweeteners, honey and maple syrup. And before you come at me, since I am in the keto, I get it. Your body looks at glucose and fructose and sucrose all the same. However, they limited it to that. Ketogenic diet took that out. But the ketogenic diet left in dairy. If you tolerate dairy, no grains, no sugars, no starches is basically of the ketogenic diet. But without the processed foods was original. Now there's all these processed foods, so you can find all these different versions of it. And from the keto, when all these different versions of junk food came in, people were having trouble with it, so they started restricting more and more and more, and in comes the carnivore crowd. Now, the carnivore diet is really the ultimate elimination diet because you're getting rid of all the plant matter and anything that would generally aggravate your digestive system, especially if you have leaky gut. So it is a version of an elimination diet, so it's probably been around a lot longer. However, now people live off of meat, salt, water. Some of them do add in supplements. Some of them have started adding in fruit. There's lots of versions of the carnivore diet. And again, now that the carnivore is trendy, there's packaged foods coming out like carnivore crisps or carnivore flour so you can make some kind of weird bread. Those against something like the ketogenic diet or the carnivore diet say they're way too restrictive, they're too reliant on animal products, and in the case of a carnivore diet, they're saying they're not getting in the fiber they need to feed the gut microbiome. And honestly, the science isn't there. We don't know what's going on with someone that has been long-term on the carnivore diet and their microbiome, but that's to be found out later. Right now, they're living a perfectly healthy, thriving life. So are vegans. So are vegetarians. Are all of them? Nope. I find it interesting that with every diet I just spoke about, with the exception of Weight Watchers and Eat Everything in Moderation, and to a little extent plant-based, and that was in air quotes, relies predominantly on whole foods, whether it be plant foods, animal foods, or a combination of both. With every single diet I have listed today, there are people who are thriving and they are metabolically healthy, and there are people who are not, that just can't get over the hump. They get a little bit better, but not over that hump, or they don't get better at all. They don't reach their goals. Some people even start downsliding and their health is deteriorating. It really depends on where you are in the health spectrum. So now, I promised you I was going to tell you what the best diet was for every human being. There is no best diet. The best diet out there consists of foods that nourish your unique body, that support your health, eliminates foods that make you personally sicker, and a diet you can sustain. Because any dietary changes you make, you need to keep them up. The minute you stop eating healthy and going back to what you're doing now that you're not healthy, will end you right back here now where you're not healthy. Trust me, I've been on this yo-yo diet circle. And when we talk about yo-yo diet, we always talk about it in the scheme of weight loss. But it's also health gains and health loss. Now, there are lots of reasons why we do not sustain a diet. If you listened to last week's episode, I talked about self-sabotaging and it as a form of hiding because we don't want to be seen. But beyond that, it could also be we don't want to be looked at as being different, that we have to eat differently. You are not going to tell an alcoholic they have to drink alcohol. You are not going to tell someone who has celiac disease to eat bread. You are not going to tell someone with a peanut allergy to eat peanuts. You see where I'm going with this? If your body cannot process the food you are putting inside of it and it is making you sicker, you should not be eating it, and you should not feel weird for avoiding it. So the best diet out there is one that makes you healthy. Plain and simple. Not only that makes you healthy, one that you can sustain. And I know that it kind of sounds weird that I'm saying it has to be sustainable, and I'm also telling you that you might have to give up your favorite foods because they're making you sick. It's not really the same thing. Giving something up because your health depends on it is not the same as giving something up because you want to lose 20 pounds. Or because some internet influencer told you to give it up. I see way too much fear-mongering in the health and wellness space, and too many blanket statements that just are not true. So, to wrap it all up and put a pretty bow on it, the best diet out there is one that will make you the healthiest version of you, and one that you can sustain the healthy habits you have built. The food will change. What nourishes you today may not be all you need down the road. What you eliminate today may get added back in, or more stuff needs to come out. Our bodies are constantly changing. With our environments, with our stress levels, with life, our bodies are not stagnant. So one diet is never going to be the perfect diet for you. You're going to need to learn how to hear your body and listen to it when it's telling you that it needs something different. It needs a change up. One more thing that all of those diets I talked about have in common is they all need the same healthy habits: hydration, exercise, good sleep, and reduce stress. So focus on the healthy habits, play around with the foods, and you will become the healthiest version of you. And lastly, do not fall into the tribal trap of diet dogma. And on that note, friends, I will see you next time. Bye! Thanks for listening in today. I hope you got some nuggets to take on your health journey. Remember, this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes. No medical advice is being given. By listening to this podcast, you agree to the full disclaimer, which is linked in the show notes. If you found this podcast helpful, could you take 30 seconds and leave a review? Your feedback means the world to me, and it helps others discover my show. Once again, thank you for being part of my community. Until next time, have a blessed day.